The lake was quiet, the air warm, until a desperate splash shattered the peace. A man spotted a German shepherd fighting for its life in the water. But what happened after he pulled the dog to shore wasn't just surprising. It was something no one could have predicted. It had been one of those rare afternoons when everything felt perfectly still. Ethan had come to the lake to escape the noise of the city, to feel the cool breeze and listen to the soft hum of nature. The sun hung lazily in the sky, its reflection dancing across the rippling water. He strolled along the shore, enjoying the solitude. The scent of pine trees drifted in from the forest edge, mixing with the faint smell of fresh water. Somewhere in the distance, birds chirped softly, hidden among the reeds. It was peaceful, almost too peaceful. He stopped at a small inlet, watching the water swirl gently around the reeds. That's when he saw it, a dark shape moving clumsily, half hidden by tall grass on the opposite bank. At first, he thought it was just another animal cooling off in the water. But as the shape lurched forward, the sound reached him, frantic splashing, loud and uneven, carrying an unmistakable note of panic. Ethan's brow furrowed. Something was wrong. The figure in the water wasn't just swimming, it was struggling. And then he saw the ears, tall, pointed, unmistakable. It was a German shepherd, and it was fighting to stay afloat. Ethan's heart kicked into overdrive. The dog's head bobbed in and out of the water, each gasp shorter than the last. Its front paws churned desperately, sending frantic splashes into the air. He scanned the shoreline for an owner, a leash, anyone, but there was no one. The lake was empty, eerily silent except for the panicked thrashing. The shepherd let out a sharp, strangled bark, but it was swallowed instantly by the water. Ethan could see it drifting farther from the bank, its body twisting as if pulled by an invisible current. Every instinct told him this was serious. Dogs were strong swimmers. If this one was struggling, it meant something was very wrong. "Hang on, buddy," he called, though he knew the animal probably couldn't hear him over the chaos. He yanked off his shoes and jacket, the sand cool beneath his bare feet. Without a second thought, he splashed into the shallows, the icy water biting at his legs. The shepherd's eyes locked onto his for a split second, wide, terrified, pleading. Ethan pushed forward, each stride sending water crashing around him. Whatever had brought the dog into this mess didn't matter now. All that mattered was reaching it in time. The first shock of cold water hit Ethan's chest like a punch, stealing his breath. But there was no time to hesitate. He dove forward, arms slicing through the lake, legs kicking hard against the pull of the water. The shepherd's struggles grew weaker. Its head dipped dangerously low before jerking back up, eyes glassy with fear. Ethan's mind screamed at him to move faster. Halfway there, he felt the water deepen, the bottom slipping away beneath his toes. A swirl of mud clouded his vision as he pushed forward. His muscles burned, but he didn't stop. Finally, he reached the dog. The shepherd tried to paddle toward him, but lacked the strength. Ethan wrapped an arm firmly around its chest, feeling its rapid heartbeat thudding against his forearm. "It's okay. I've got you," he gasped, though his own lungs were already screaming for air. The dog's wet fur clung to his skin, heavy as lead. Every stroke toward shore felt longer, harder. Ethan tilted his head back to keep both of them above water, waves slapping against his face. The shore seemed impossibly far, but he focused on each pull, each kick, ignoring the ache in his shoulders. The shepherd, sensing safety, stopped thrashing and leaned into him, trusting his grip completely. That silent trust pushed Ethan to keep going, even as exhaustion threatened to drag him down. At last, his feet found solid ground again. He staggered forward, water pouring off both of them in streams. With one final heave, Ethan carried the dog up onto the shore, collapsing beside it. The shepherd lay still for a moment, sides heaving, then let out a deep, shuddering breath. They were safe, or so Ethan thought. Ethan knelt beside the shepherd, his own breath ragged, water dripping from his hair and clothes. The dog coughed weakly, expelling lake water from its lungs, then blinked up at him with glassy eyes. "Easy. You're okay now," Ethan murmured, gently resting a hand on its damp fur. He checked for injuries, no visible wounds, but the dog was trembling from head to tail. For a brief moment, relief washed over him. They'd made it. The danger was over. But then the shepherd did something unexpected. It scrambled to its feet, unsteady but determined, and let out a sharp bark. Its eyes were locked on something. In the distance, something Ethan couldn't yet see. "Hey, where are you going?" he called, trying to hold the dog back. But the shepherd pulled free, sprinting along the shoreline, its paws splashing through the shallows. Ethan hesitated, heart still pounding from the rescue. This wasn't a panicked escape. The dog's movements were urgent, purposeful. Wiping water from his face, he rose to follow. Whatever had driven the shepherd into the lake, it wasn't over. And from the way it ran, Ethan knew the real reason for its desperation was still out there. Ethan's legs ached as he chased after the shepherd, water squelching in his shoes with every step. The dog didn't look back, its focus razor-sharp, tail low, ears pinned forward. They rounded a bend in the shoreline, and that's when Ethan saw it, a small patch of reeds swaying unnaturally, as if something beneath was struggling. The shepherd plunged straight in, disappearing into the tall grass. Ethan pushed through after it, the wet stalks slapping his arms. Then he heard it, a faint, high-pitched whimper. His heart lurched. Through the tangle of reeds, he spotted a tiny, shivering bundle, a puppy. Barely old enough to walk, it was tangled in weeds, half submerged in the muddy water. The shepherd, now beside the pup, nuzzled it frantically, letting out soft, urgent whines. Ethan realized the truth in an instant. This wasn't just any dog. This was a mother, and she had been fighting the lake's current not for herself, but for her baby. Dropping to his knees, Ethan carefully freed the puppy from the weeds, cradling it in his hands. The little creature trembled but was alive. The mother stayed close, licking its face, her tail wagging weakly in relief. Ethan stood, clutching the pup against his chest, the shepherd trotting beside him, never taking her eyes off her baby. As they made their way back to solid ground, the weight of what had just happened hit him. He hadn't just saved one life. He had saved two. And in doing so, he'd witnessed a bond so fierce it had driven a mother into danger without hesitation. And that, Ethan thought, was the most unbelievable part of it all. Back on the shore, Ethan set the puppy down gently. The mother immediately curled herself around it, shielding the tiny body from the wind. She looked up at Ethan, her eyes soft, now filled with something deeper than gratitude. A small crowd had gathered, drawn by the commotion. Among them was a young woman who broke into a run when she saw the shepherd. "Luna!" she cried, dropping to her knees. She scooped the puppy into her arms, tears streaming down her face. "You found her. You saved them both." Ethan felt a lump in his throat. He'd come to the lake for peace and solitude, but he was leaving with a story, one that reminded him of the lengths love will go to protect. As Luna pressed against him one last time, Ethan smiled. Sometimes, he thought, heroes walk on four legs, and sometimes, they're the reason we find our own courage.